It's time now for a word to the wise on English plurals, specifically the formation of English plurals for words derived from Latin and Greek. Is the plural of octopus octopi or octopuses? Should you say the media is or the media are? Is the word bacteria singular or plural? The answers are not always simple and clear, and for those who have had no instruction in classical languages, in other words, for most of us, intuition is often the only guide. Here then is some advice to direct you through this pluralistic maze. Words that end in is in the singular change to es in the plural. Basis becomes bases. Thesis becomes theses. Crisis becomes crises, and neurosis becomes neuroses. As you can hear, the second syllable of the plural form is pronounced ease. Take care not to say this crises when you mean this crisis. Another word of caution here. Don't get confused and apply this rule to the plural noun processes, for which the mispronunciation processes is now often heard. Process is of Latin origin and not analogous to words of Greek origin that end in is. Furthermore, most dictionaries do not recognize the pronunciation processes. Pronounce the singular process, the pronunciation process is British, and pronounce the plural processes. The plurals of a number of English words that come from Latin end in the letter A. Media and bacteria are common examples. The phrase, a deadly bacteria, is wrong because bacteria is the plural of bacterium. It should be a deadly bacterium. Likewise with media. The media are plural, so don't say the media is. TV is one medium, radio another medium, and print yet another medium. Together they constitute the media. Never, ever say medias. In the case of the word data, however, we have a draw. Traditionally, data is a plural noun, like facts, and the singular is datum. Until fairly recently, careful writers and editors followed the traditional rule of treating data as a plural, preferring these data are conclusive over this data is conclusive, and will decide when all the data are in, instead of will decide when all the data is in. Today, however, the use of data as a singular noun is so prevalent among educated speakers, including scientists and researchers who compile data for a living, that in 1993, 60% of the esteemed usage panel of the American Heritage Dictionary sanctioned the use of data with a singular verb, and 77% accepted it in the sentence, "We have very little data on the efficacy of such programs." Hardline purists may be upset by that vote, but there's no denying that a decided majority of educated speakers and writers now use data as a synonym of information. I'm still not entirely comfortable with using data with a singular verb, but I have to concede that the folks who prefer to say the data is have a persuasive case. As the late writer and professor Isaac Asimov remarked in the 1985 edition of the Harper Dictionary of Contemporary Usage, what's the use of saying these data are when to say it will cause everyone who hears it to consider you illiterate? Data is plural in Latin, singular in English. Now it's up to you to decide what seems natural and correct. But while you're pondering all that data, here are some quick rulings on a few more problematic plurals. For the word syllabus, the English plural syllabuses and the Latin plural syllabi are both acceptable. For octopus, the English plural is octopuses, which I recommend. The Greek plural now rarely heard is octopodes. Octopi, which is neither English nor Greek but pseudo-Latin, is improper but recognized by many dictionaries. For the word formula, the English formulas is most common, with the Latin formulae now a rather pretentious alternative. The same goes for the word forum. The anglicized plural forums is preferred over the more pretentious Latin alternative fora. However, when you write more than one memorandum, you may call them either memoranda or memorandums. I prefer memoranda. When you are talking about insects and you want to say they have more than one antenna, the plural you need is antennae, spelled A-N-T-E-N-N-A-E. However, if you are referring specifically to the media reception contraption, the preferred plural is antennas. For the plural of index, it is acceptable to use either indexes or indices, I-N-D-I-C-E-S. I prefer indexes. Finally, for the word appendix, the English plural appendixes and the Latin plural appendices are both correct, with usage being about evenly divided between them. It is not true that appendices belong in books and appendixes in bodies. Editors and doctors prefer one or the other, and no formal differentiation has been made. And now let's return to the Verbal Advantage vocabulary for the next 10 keywords in Level 5. Word 21. Ebullience. E-B-U-L-L-I-E-N-C-E. Lively enthusiasm, high spirits, bubbly excitement. Synonyms include exuberance, exhilaration, and effervescence. The words ebullition, ebullient, and ebullience all come from the Latin verb ebullire, to boil, bubble. The noun ebullition literally means a boiling or bubbling up. It may be used figuratively of an emotional outburst, as Lisa was delighted with her husband's amorous ebullition on their anniversary. The adjective ebullient means bubbling with enthusiasm, overflowing with high spirits. The stadium was packed with thousands of ebullient fans. The noun ebullience means bubbly enthusiasm, seething excitement, irrepressible exuberance. When Jack won the lottery, he could not contain his ebullience. Here's a pronunciation tip. The words ebullience and ebullient are often mispronounced. Be careful not to say ebullience and ebullient, or ebullience and ebullient. The bool and buell sounds are wrong. There are two acceptable pronunciations for the second syllable in these words: ebullience and ebullient, with the B-U-L pronounced as in the word bulk, or ebullience and ebullient, with the B-U-L pronounced like the word bull. Word 22. Impervious. I-M-P-E-R-V-I-O-U-S. Impenetrable. Incapable of being entered or passed through, hence unable to be moved or affected by something. Synonyms of impervious include impassable, impermeable, and opaque, O-P-A-Q-U-E. Antonyms include penetrable, passable, accessible, permeable, translucent, and diaphanous. An impervious substance cannot be penetrated. Certain fabrics are impervious to water. A recording studio must be well insulated and impervious to external noise. If you are impervious to pain, then pain does not penetrate your consciousness. And if your mind is impervious to reason, that means you cannot be moved or affected by any argument, no matter how persuasive. Word 23. Remonstrate. R-E-M-O-N-S-T-R-A-T-E. To object, protest, reprove, rebuke, argue or plead against. The words to expostulate and to remonstrate are close in meaning. To expostulate suggests an earnest and sometimes passionate attempt to change someone's views or behavior by pleading and argument. To remonstrate suggests a calmer and more reasoned attempt to show that someone is wrong or blameworthy. Word 24. Efface. E-F-F-A-C-E. To rub out, wipe out, obliterate, erase, expunge. Time gradually effaced the memory of the tragedy. To efface may also mean to make oneself inconspicuous, keep oneself out of the limelight. During the celebration, he effaced himself so his partner would get all the attention. The self-effacing person stays in the background and behaves in a modest, retiring fashion. Take care to distinguish the words deface and efface. To deface, D-E-F-A-C-E, means to spoil the appearance of, ruin, disfigure, mar. To efface, E-F-F-A-C-E, means to rub out, wipe out, erase, or withdraw from notice, make oneself inconspicuous. Word 25. Chimera. C-H-I-M-E-R-A. A foolish fancy, fantastic notion or idea, figment of the imagination. Synonyms of chimera include whimsy, crotchet, maggot, and caprice. In Greek mythology, the chimera was a fire-breathing monster with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. In modern usage, chimera may refer to that monster or a similar fabulous creature, but more commonly it means an absurd and fabulous creation of the mind. A chimera is a vain or idle fancy, an impossible or visionary idea. The corresponding adjective is chimerical, spelled C-H-I-M-E-R-I-C-A-L. Chimerical means imaginary, fantastic, preposterous, absurd. Word 26. Incorrigible. I-N-C-O-R-R-I-G-I-B-L-E. Bad beyond correction or reform, hopeless, irreformable. Also, unruly, unmanageable, difficult to control. Synonyms of incorrigible in the sense of bad beyond correction or reform include irredeemable, irreclaimable, unrepentant, inveterate, and unregenerate. Synonyms of incorrigible in the sense of unruly, difficult to control, include obstinate, word 34 of level 1, willful, and intractable. The adjective corrigible means capable of being corrected, amended, or reformed. By adding the privative prefix in, meaning not, to the adjective corrigible, we get its antonym, incorrigible, not capable of being corrected, amended, or reformed, and therefore hopelessly bad, irreformable, as an incorrigible drinker, an incorrigible practical joker. Because incorrigible behavior cannot be corrected or reformed, it also cannot be managed or controlled, and from that logical inference grew the second meaning of incorrigible, unruly, unmanageable, difficult to control. Wild, unruly teenagers and spoiled children who will not mind their parents are often called incorrigible. Word 27. Juxtapose. J-U-X-T-A-P-O-S-E. to place side by side or close together, especially so as to compare or contrast. The first half of the word juxtapose comes from the Latin juxta, which means near, close by. The second half, pose, comes from the Latin ponere, to put, place, the source also of the familiar word position and the more challenging word posit. To posit, spelled P-O-S-I-T, means to put forward as true, set down as a fact, as the Declaration of Independence posits that all men are created equal. By derivation, the verb to juxtapose means to place near, put close by. When you juxtapose two or more things, you place them side by side, usually for the purpose of comparing or contrasting them. Painters often juxtapose colors for a striking effect. Philosophers and scientists juxtapose ideas so as to evaluate them. A consumer might juxtapose two products, place them side by side to decide which one is better. The corresponding noun is juxtaposition. Word 28. Conversant. C-O-N-V-E-R-S-A-N-T. Familiar, acquainted, well-informed or well-versed. Conversant comes from the Latin conversari, to associate with, the source also of the verb to converse and the noun conversation. When you are conversant with something, you literally have had a conversation with it, you have associated with it, and therefore you are familiar or well acquainted with it. The person who is conversant with astronomy or folklore or Russian history or the microcomputer industry is well informed and able to speak knowledgeably about the subject. The words conversant and versed are close synonyms. Conversant is usually followed by with. Versed is usually followed by in. Versed often suggests the familiarity that comes from experience. You can be versed in the ways of life, versed in the techniques of marketing or public relations, or versed in the culture of a foreign country. Conversant often suggests the familiarity that comes from having studied something or acquired information about it. You can be conversant with the work of a certain writer, conversant with economics, conversant with modern art, or conversant with current events. Word 29. Esoteric. E-S-O-T-E-R-I-C. Intended for or designed to be understood only by a select group, known only by a few people, hence not public, secret, confidential. Synonyms of esoteric include mysterious, impenetrable, inscrutable, word 48 of level 3, cryptic, abstruse, arcane, and recondite, R-E-C-O-N-D-I-T-E. Antonyms of esoteric include plain, apparent, accessible, manifest, discernible, word 32 of level 3, lucid, word 45 of level 4, and perspicuous. Esoteric comes from a Greek word meaning inner, and by derivation means intended for or known only by an inner circle. According to the 1914 edition of the Great Century Dictionary, the word esoteric originally applied to certain writings of Aristotle of a scientific as opposed to a popular character, and afterward to the secret teachings of Pythagoras. Hence, esoteric has come to mean secret, intended to be communicated only to the initiated. Because esoteric refers to that which is secret or understood only by a few select people, In recent years, the word has come to be used more generally to mean beyond most people's knowledge or understanding, highly complex and difficult to comprehend, as an esoteric theory, or the esoteric language of computer programming. Many educated people now use the word in this more general way, and there is nothing wrong with that, except that I suspect most people who use esoteric today are not aware of the word's original, more specific meaning. Thus, you will have a leg up on them if you keep in mind the precise meaning of esoteric, intended to be communicated only to the initiated. An esoteric theory is complex and impenetrable because it is designed to be understood only by a select group. An esoteric purpose is secret and mysterious because it is known only by a few chosen people. The antonym, or opposite of esoteric, is exoteric, spelled E-X-O-T-E-R-I-C. Exoteric begins with the prefix exo, which means outer, outside. Exoteric means external, popular, of the outside world or open to public view. Exoteric writing is intended for the world at large. It is communicated to or suitable for the general public. Esoteric writing is intended for an inner circle. It is understood only by a few people. Word 30. Auspicious. A-U-S-P-I-C-I-O-U-S. Favorable, fortunate, marked by favorable circumstances or good fortune, conducive to success, boding well. The ancient Romans were, by modern standards, a highly superstitious people who believed in supernatural signs and omens and who often consulted oracles, astrologers, soothsayers, and clairvoyants when they wanted to know what the future held in store for them. One of the most popular fortune-tellers in ancient times was the Auspex, spelled A-U-S-P-E-X, who practiced a form of divination known in Latin as auspicium, which meant the act of predicting the future by observing the flight of birds. In English, the word auspice, spelled A-U-S-P-I-C-E, means an omen or sign, especially a favorable one. From that sense, auspice came to be used in the plural to mean protection, guardianship, or sponsorship, as an investigation conducted under the auspices of the government. Both the noun auspice and the adjective auspicious come from the Latin auspicium, which in turn comes from avis, bird, and specere, to look at, observe. By derivation, auspicious refers to that which an auspex, or birdwatcher, has said will have a favorable outcome. In modern usage, auspicious applies to anything marked by favorable circumstances or good fortune. An auspicious debut is a favorable debut, one conducive to future success. When the telephone rings and the caller wants to buy your product or pay for your services, that's an auspicious call, one marked by good fortune. And when you meet someone at a party who later turns out to be an important business contact, that meeting can only be described as auspicious, favorable, fortunate. The adjectives auspicious and propitious are close in meaning. Propitious, spelled P-R-O-P-I-T-I-O-U-S, by derivation means rushing forward or striving after something. In colloquial terms, going for it. In current usage, propitious usually refers to favorable conditions or a favorable time for doing something. Fishermen hope for propitious weather. Stockbrokers are always looking for the propitious moment to buy or sell. Auspicious means favorable in the sense of boding well, giving indication of success. An auspicious event is one that seems an omen of success, good fortune, or prosperity.
Let's review the 10 key words you've just learned. This time, I'm going to give you 2 words, and you decide if they are synonyms or antonyms. Are you ready? Here we go. Ebullience and exuberance are synonyms. Ebullience means lively enthusiasm, high spirits, bubbly excitement. Impervious and accessible are antonyms. Impervious means impenetrable, incapable of being entered or passed through, hence unable to be moved or affected by something. To remonstrate and to acquiesce are antonyms. To acquiesce, word 31 of level 4, means to agree without protest, accept without argument. To remonstrate is to object, protest, argue or plead against. To efface and to obliterate are synonyms. To efface is to rub out, wipe out, obliterate, erase, expunge. Chimera and fantasy are synonyms. A chimera is a foolish fancy, fantastic notion or idea, figment of the imagination. Irreformable and incorrigible are synonyms. Incorrigible means bad beyond correction or reform, hopeless, irreformable. Also, unruly, unmanageable, difficult to control. Separate and juxtapose are antonyms. To juxtapose is to place side by side or close together, especially so as to compare or contrast. Unfamiliar and conversant are antonyms. Conversant means familiar, acquainted, well-informed or well-versed. Esoteric and mysterious are synonyms. Esoteric means intended for a select group, known only by a few people, hence secret, confidential, or mysterious. Unfavorable and auspicious are antonyms. Auspicious means favorable, fortunate, marked by favorable circumstances or good fortune. That concludes the review for this section.
When people use words loosely, with no regard for their precise meanings, it can lead, as Johnson O'Connor put it, to serious mistakes of understanding and judgment. If your boss tells you to peruse a report, how do you know whether the boss means skim it or read it carefully and critically? If someone says he's disinterested, does that mean he's not interested or that he's fair-minded and impartial? When people use reticent to mean reluctant, comprised of to mean composed of, or verbal to mean oral, they are not being clever, novel, or stylish. They are being either lazy or pretentious. Good usage begins with learning the precise meanings of words and ends with respecting those meanings in your writing and speech. Take, for example, the word unique. Aren't you thoroughly sick of it? Haven't you had enough of unique this, unique that, everything being so very unique? I certainly have. Why? Because unique is so overused, its uniqueness has worn out. Wherever you turn these days, people are trying to be unique by saying unique, and they are proving only that they have mastered the art of monotonous diction. They're being unique on television talk shows, on every page of the newspaper, in every advertising circular, and at every happy hour. Yes, everywhere intelligent people are inserting unique into their sentences as swiftly and predictably as a computer chip gets clapped onto a printed circuit board in an assembly line. But while a chip can store a great deal of information and instantaneously perform a variety of tasks, the word unique soldered to a sentence today, does only one thing: bore, bore, bore. As if the repetition of this word day in and day out is not enough, people have aggravated the situation by qualifying just how unique whatever they're talking about is. They say, "My child is very unique. Ours is the most unique product of its kind. This program is completely unique." You will notice, please, that not once have I called the Verbal Advantage program unique. I prefer to think of it as exceptional or peerless. At any rate, all these flaccid modifications of unique say just one thing to me. Most people tacitly acknowledge that unique isn't unique anymore, but they just can't seem to come up with anything better. I suppose it won't make much difference if I point out that properly, unique should not be qualified. The American Heritage Dictionary contains this example of the gross misuse of unique. Omaha's most unique restaurant is now even more unique. The sentence comes from advertising copy, where some of the most flagrant transgressions of the language occur. Something may be more unusual, or the most exceptional, but it cannot be more or most unique. Unique comes from the Latin unicus, one, only, sole, from unus, one, and means unlike anything else, unmatched, one of a kind. A thing cannot be more or less unique than another thing. It is simply unique. The restaurant in Omaha either is unique or it is not, and most probably it is not. Of course, if you consult Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary on this, you will find a lengthy usage note devoted to rationalizing the current infatuation with modifying unique. It says, "In modern use, both comparison and modification are widespread and standard." That is true, unfortunately. What Merriam-Webster fails to point out is that unique now needs these modifiers because the word is addictive, and its users require increasing doses of uniqueness. Unique has been used so often as an elegant variation for unusual and uncommon that it is no longer unusual or uncommon and hardly elegant. Unusual and uncommon mean out of the ordinary, rare. They can be modified. Something can be very unusual or rather uncommon, but it can't logically be very unique, unmatched, without equal or peer. Merriam-Webster says something else interesting in its usage note. Unique dates back to the 17th century, but was little used until the end of the 18th, when, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, it was reacquired from French. H.J. Todd entered it as a foreign word in his edition, 1818, of Johnson's Dictionary, characterizing it as affected and useless. It doesn't surprise me that in the last 200 years, the word standing has not improved. Through widespread acceptance, unique has exchanged affectation for tedium, and through widespread use, its uselessness has only been affirmed. That unique must now be dressed up to do its duty proves how feckless it has become. By the way, the word feckless, spelled F-E-C-K-L-E-S-S, means weak, feeble, ineffective. It combines the Scottish word feck, meaning effect, with the suffix less to mean literally without an effect. But back to unique. If you agree with me that this feckless word is overworked and deserves a vacation, then join me in boycotting unique wherever to use it would be weak. Here's how you can do it. The next time unique is about to spring from your lips, pause for a moment and make the effort to summon another word. Can you think of anything better right now? How about unrivaled, matchless, peerless, unparalleled, incomparable, singular, or the delicious inimitable? These are truly elegant variations. They will make your sentence sparkle. They will awaken interest in your audience. They will set you apart from the humdrum herd of unicolaliacs. By the way, don't bother trying to find unicolaliac in a dictionary. It's my nonce word, a word I made up for the occasion. I created it by affixing unique to the combining form lalia, which comes from a Greek word meaning talk, chat, and in modern medicine is used to denote a speech disorder. For example, rhinolalia is an abnormally strong nasal tone in a person's speech. Echolalia is the habit of repeating what other people say. So I hope you will develop a temporary case of echolalia and repeat what I've said about unique to as many people as you can. If together we can manage to stem the tedious tide of uniquelalia, it would be a singular and perhaps even inimitable achievement. Now let's return to the Verbal Advantage vocabulary for the next 10 keywords in Level 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. Word 31. Itinerant. I-T-I-N-E-R-A-N-T. Wandering, traveling about, moving from place to place, especially to perform work. Synonyms of the adjective itinerant include migratory, wayfaring, vagrant, nomadic, ambulatory, and the interesting word peripatetic, P-E-R-I-P-A-T-E-T-I-C. I'll discuss peripatetic further in Level 9. Itinerant is also a noun meaning an itinerant person, a wanderer, wayfarer, someone who travels from place to place. The words itinerant and itinerary come from the late Latin verb itinerari, to travel, go on a journey. An itinerary is a route, a course taken on a journey, especially a detailed plan or list of places to visit while traveling, as the travel agent prepared an itinerary for their trip to Europe, noting their transportation schedule and the hotels where they planned to stay. In current usage, itinerary is sometimes used loosely as a synonym of agenda, but these words should be sharply distinguished. An agenda is a list of things to be done or dealt with, especially a list of items to be addressed in a meeting. An itinerary is a list of places to go, a detailed plan for a journey. The words itinerant, nomadic, vagrant, and ambulatory all mean moving or traveling about. Ambulatory, from the Latin ambulare, to walk, means walking, able to walk around. When Kevin broke his leg, the doctor said it would be at least 3 months before he'd be ambulatory again. Vagrant comes ultimately from the Latin vagari, to wander, and means wandering about with no fixed purpose. Vagrant is usually applied to people, such as hobos and tramps, who have no home or job and who wander about in a shiftless way. Nomadic applies not to individuals but to tribes or groups of people who lack a permanent home and who wander together from place to place to sustain themselves. The nomadic tribes of the desert must move from oasis to oasis to provide enough water for themselves and their livestock. Itinerant applies to people who travel from place to place to work or seek work, and the word usually suggests traveling on a regular course or circuit. An itinerant preacher goes from town to town, spreading the gospel. Itinerant laborers must travel from place to place to do their work. In the past, the legal system had many itinerant judges who traveled on a regular circuit to adjudicate cases in various far-flung districts. Word 32. Cull. C-U-L-L. To pick out, select from various sources. Gather, collect. Cull comes from the Latin colligere, to gather, the source also of the familiar words collect and collection. The verbs to cull and to glean are close in meaning. Glean, spelled G-L-E-A-N, was originally used in farming to mean to gather up the stray bits and pieces of a crop that remained after the reapers or gatherers had done their work. From that sense, glean came to mean to collect or gather mentally, especially to learn or discover something bit by bit in a laborious fashion. The investigator gathers facts to glean information. The historian gleans knowledge about the past by studying old records and documents. The unusual noun a cull means something picked out or rejected as inferior or worthless, and in its original sense, the verb to cull means to eliminate culls, as to cull livestock, to separate inferior specimens from the herd, or to cull lumber, to pick out and remove defective pieces. From that sense, cull came to mean to pick out so as to collect and keep, to select with an eye for retaining rather than rejecting. Today we speak of culling useful information or culling ideas, meaning we gather that information or those ideas from various sources. When you cull flowers from a garden, you select and gather them. And when you cull interesting words from reading, you pick them out and collect them in your mind. Word 33. Promulgate. P-R-O-M-U-L-G-A-T-E. To make known, publish, proclaim, make public in an official manner. You may pronounce this word either promulgate or promulgate, as you please. Promulgate is the original American pronunciation. Promulgate was imported from Great Britain in the 1920s. Since the 1960s, promulgate has steadily eclipsed the traditional promulgate, and today promulgate is sanctioned by all dictionaries and preferred by many educated speakers. Synonyms of promulgate include announce, advertise, broadcast, disseminate, and bruit, B-R-U-I-T. All of these words share the meaning of bringing something to the attention of the public, making it widely known. The verb promulgate has two corresponding nouns. Promulgation, which may also be pronounced promulgation, means the act of promulgating, making something public or widely known. Promulgator, which may also be pronounced promulgator, means a person who makes something widely known, who proclaims or publicizes it. Promulgate comes from the Latin promulgare, to publish, proclaim. The word applies chiefly to making something known in a formal or official way. The government promulgates a new law or policy. Religions promulgate their doctrine or creed. A corporation promulgates its financial status in an annual report to stockholders. and people often promulgate their opinions on radio talk shows and on the editorial pages of the newspaper. Word 34. Gratuitous. Gratuitous. Free, given without charge or obligation. Also, without legitimate cause or reason, uncalled for, unjustified, baseless, unwarranted. Gratuitous comes from the Latin gratuitus, meaning not paid for, unprovoked, or spontaneous. Related English words include the adjective gratis, spelled gratis, which means free, without charge, and the noun a gratuity, a gift or favor given in return for a service. After dining in a fancy restaurant, you leave the waiter a gratuity. After eating in a greasy spoon, you leave the server a tip. In modern usage, gratuitous may be used to mean either given without charge or obligation, or given without legitimate cause or reason. When your boss gives you an unexpected pay raise, it's a gratuitous blessing. If a friend offers you a free pair of tickets to a ball game, they're gratuitous. On the other hand, a gratuitous remark or gesture is not given freely. It's uncalled for, unwarranted. Likewise, a gratuitous assumption is baseless, and a gratuitous criticism is unjustified. When you see or hear gratuitous used, be sure to examine the context carefully to determine in which sense you should construe the word. I shall conclude this discussion by offering you some gratuitous advice on usage. After you hear it, you may decide whether it was gratuitous in the sense of given freely, or gratuitous in the sense of unjustified, uncalled for. Have you ever received a free gift or been given something for free? Of course you have. But are you also aware that when you accepted that free gift or that whatnot for free, you acquiesced in two of the most preposterous redundancies in the English language? Think about it for a moment. A gift is something given free. A present. You wouldn't say a free present, would you? That would sound ridiculous, which it is. Similarly, free gift is ridiculous because the phrase literally means something given free without charge. So why do so many people insist on saying free gift when a gift already is free? I'll tell you why. Because for years, marauding hordes of advertising copywriters and marketers have assaulted us with this redundant phrase in every sleazy, gratuitous pitch they make on radio or television or drop into our mailboxes, until our brains are so saturated with it that we can't look a gift horse in the mouth without calling it free. That, in a word, is mind control. The question now is, shall we continue to let ourselves be subjugated by the mind-numbing mannequins of Madison Avenue, or shall we strike a blow for freedom in our own writing and speech by striking free from the redundant free gift? I hope you will consider that question the next time someone offers you something free for nothing. Likewise with for free used to mean for nothing. William Safire, the language columnist for the New York Times, calls for free a joculism, which he defines as a word or phrase intended to be an amusing error that is taken up as accurate by the unwary. Safire posits that this joculism arose from a joke line from the 1930s. "I'll give it to you free for nothing." Just as the joculism irregardless began as a play on the legitimate words irrespective and regardless and weaseled its way into the speech of those who didn't realize that irregardless was a joke and not a real word, so did the joke phrase for free mutate from a facetious usage into a widely accepted one. Everywhere you turn today, you hear educated speakers saying, "I'll give it to you for free," or "only a fool works for free," without giving a second thought to the fact that, as William Safire puts it, something is either free or for nothing, not both. To that, I would add that if the pure and simple word free by itself doesn't satisfy your verbal appetite, and you yearn for something more verbose, then use the formal without charge, the trendy cost-free, or the emphatic at no cost to you. So remember, my verbally advantaged friend, that there's no such thing as a free lunch, and there's no such thing as a free gift, because nothing in this world is for free. When it comes to language, one word is almost always better than two, even when they're free and at no cost to you. Word 35. Nomenclature. Nomenclature. A system of names, especially a system of names used in a science, art, or branch of knowledge. Nomenclature combines the Latin nomen, meaning name, with calare, to call, and by derivation means name-calling, not in a negative but in a neutral, disinterested sense. From the same source comes the unusual English word nomenclator. According to the Century Dictionary, in ancient Rome, candidates canvassing for office were attended each by a nomenclator, who informed the candidate of the names of the persons they met, thus enabling him to address them by name. From that sense, the word nomenclator came to be used to mean one who invents names for things, specifically a person who assigns technical names in scientific classification. Nomenclature is the system of names used by a nomenclator. The whole vocabulary of names or technical terms used in a given science, art, or branch of knowledge. Engineering, philosophy, economics, and chemistry all have distinct nomenclatures, as do music, carpentry, computer science, and plumbing. In the 18th century, the Swedish botanist Carolus Linnaeus founded the binomial or two-name system of nomenclature, which has since been adopted by many sciences. Word 36. Droll. D-R-O-L-L. Amusing, humorous, comical, especially funny or witty in an odd or outrageous way. Synonyms of droll include ridiculous, ludicrous, farcical, and waggish. Antonyms include sober, sedate, staid, S-T-A-I-D, and austere, word 17 of level 3. Droll comes from a French word meaning a buffoon, a jester, or a wag. Droll was once used as a noun to mean a buffoon, someone who clowns around telling jokes and performing amusing tricks. The kind of person that today we might describe as the life of the party. The noun a droll is now old-fashioned, and in current usage, droll is used as an adjective to mean amusing or witty in a quirky, eccentric way. A droll person has a playful, lively sense of humor. A droll expression is an oddly comical expression. A droll remark is humorous in an offbeat way. The corresponding noun is drollery, which may denote either an oddly amusing quality or something said or done in a slightly outrageous and amusing way. Word 37. Insatiable. I-N-S-A-T-I-A-B-L-E. Greedy, hungry, unable to be satisfied or appeased. Synonyms of insatiable include ravenous, voracious, unquenchable, and unappeasable. The direct antonym is satiable, capable of being satisfied. From the Latin satis, which means enough, sufficient, English has inherited the antonyms insatiable and satiable, the verbs to satisfy and to satiate, and the challenging noun satiety. To satiate, spelled S-A-T-I-A-T-E, means to satisfy completely or somewhat to excess. When you fill your hungry belly with a hearty meal, you are satiated with food. If you occasionally feel that verbal advantage is stuffing your brain with more words than it can comfortably contain, then you're feeling satiated with words. But don't worry. If you listen carefully and methodically, I don't think you'll reach the point of satiety. The noun satiety, spelled Satiety, means a state of excessive gratification, satisfaction beyond what one normally desires. Our keyword insatiable means incapable of being satiated, not able to achieve satiety, unable to be satisfied or appeased. In short, greedy, hungry, ravenous. The human animal can be insatiable in many ways. You can have an insatiable appetite for food or drink or sex. You can have an insatiable desire to make money or achieve fame. You can have an insatiable hunger for attention. You can have an insatiable longing for the way things were. And you can have an insatiable thirst for knowledge or for learning new words. Word 38. Beguile. Beguile. To deceive, delude, or mislead. Also to charm, amuse, or delight. Synonyms of beguile in the sense of deceive, delude, or mislead include dupe, gull, hoodwink, swindle, bamboozle, ensnare, and cozen, C-O-Z-E-N. Synonyms of beguile in the sense of charm, amuse, or delight include enchant, enrapture, enthrall, and ensorcel, E-N-S-O-R-C-E-L. The word guile, G-U-I-L-E, comes to us through Old French, probably from an Old English word meaning sorcery or divination. The notion that the practitioners of sorcery are evil wizards has led to the modern meaning of guile: deceitful craftiness, treacherous cunning. The prefix be at the beginning of the verb to beguile is an intensifier, meaning completely, thoroughly. You can see this intensifying prefix be in the words besmirch, to smirch or stain thoroughly, befuddle, to completely fuddle or confuse, and beware, to be completely wary of, to be thoroughly on one's guard. In its original sense, the verb to beguile means to deceive completely by means of guile, crafty, treacherous cunning. In Genesis, the first book of the Old Testament, Eve tells God, "The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat." Since Shakespeare's time, beguile has also been used in a far less sinister way to mean to completely capture the attention of, to thoroughly divert or distract, and so to charm, amuse, or delight. Depending on the motives of the beguiler, when you are beguiled, you may either be thoroughly charmed and enraptured, or completely distracted and deceived. Beguiling eyes are captivating, fascinating eyes. Beguiling words are crafty, deceptive, misleading words. Word 39. Vindictive. V-I-N-D-I-C-T-I-V-E. Seeking or wanting revenge, vengeful, characterized by a desire to get even. Vengeful and vindictive are close in meaning, and both words are used of people who have a strong desire for revenge or retribution. Retribution means repayment, specifically repayment in the form of punishment in return for a wrong. The vengeful person wants to inflict an equivalent degree of suffering upon the wrongdoer in accordance with the famous code of Hammurabi, the ancient Babylonian king, which stipulated an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The vindictive person is less rational and more fervent. When a vindictive person feels wronged, he is driven to retaliate at all costs. Consequently, vindictive often suggests gratuitous or unjustified retaliation for an offense that is imagined rather than actual. Word 40. Replete. R-E-P-L-E-T-E. Fully or richly supplied, well stocked, chock full, filled to capacity. Synonyms of replete include stuffed, crammed, gorged, abounding, brimming, teeming, laden, and surfeited. Replete comes from the Latin replere, to refill, fill again, from re, meaning again, and plere, to fill. From the Latin plere, to fill, and the adjective plenus, full, come the familiar English words plenty and plentiful, and the more challenging words plenitude, an abundance, ample amount, and plenary. Plenary, spelled P-L-E-N-A-R-Y, means full or complete in all respects. Plenary powers are complete powers. A plenary session of Congress is a fully attended session of Congress. Our keyword, replete, by derivation means filled to capacity, well-stocked, abounding. A river may be replete with fish. A house may be replete with furniture. A conversation may be replete with humor. A book may be replete with insight. A mind may be replete with wisdom. And a life may be replete with experience. Verbal advantage, of course, is replete with words. The words replete and fraught are close in meaning, but are used in different ways. Fraught, spelled F-R-A-U-G-H-T, comes from Middle English and Middle Dutch words meaning loaded, freighted, full of cargo. By derivation, fraught suggests carrying a heavy load. That which is fraught is burdened or weighted down. A situation may be fraught with danger. A person's face may be fraught with worry. A life may be fraught with pain and suffering. Fraught suggests great weight or emotional intensity, and is usually used of that which is burdensome or distressful. Replete, on the other hand, suggests great volume or mass, and may be used of any abundant supply. A train overflowing with passengers is replete with passengers, not fraught with them. But a relationship full of conflict is fraught with conflict, not replete with it. Recently, replete has come to be used to mean complete. The words are not synonymous or interchangeable. Complete means lacking nothing, having all necessary elements, ingredients, or parts. Replete means well-stocked, fully or richly supplied. A multivitamin may come complete with all the minimum daily requirements. When your body absorbs those vitamins, it is replete with them.
Let's review the 10 key words you've just learned by playing one of these definitions doesn't fit the word. I will say a word followed by 3 apparent synonyms, but only 2 of those 3 words or phrases will be true synonyms. 1 will be unrelated in meaning. You have to decide which one of the 3 ostensible synonyms doesn't fit the word. Ready? Here we go. Itinerant means wandering, traveling, lost. Lost doesn't fit. Itinerant means wandering, traveling about, moving from place to place, especially to perform work. To cull means to select, deceive, gather. Deceive doesn't fit. To cull means to pick out, select from various sources, gather, collect. To promulgate means to make known, make certain, make public.
Make certain doesn't fit.
To promulgate means to make known, publish, proclaim, make public in an official manner. This word may also be pronounced promulgate. Gratuitous means unsound, uncalled for, unjustified. Unsound doesn't fit. Gratuitous means without legitimate cause or reason, uncalled for, unjustified. Also, free, given without charge or obligation. Nomenclature means a system of classification, a system of rules, a system of names. A system of rules doesn't fit. Nomenclature means a system of names or a system of classification, especially a system of names used in a science, art, or branch of knowledge. Droll means amusing, incredible, comical. Incredible doesn't fit. Droll means amusing, humorous, comical, witty, especially in an odd or outrageous way. Insatiable means greedy, desperate, hungry. Desperate doesn't fit. Insatiable means greedy, hungry, unable to be satisfied or appeased. To beguile means to expose, deceive, mislead. Expose doesn't fit. To beguile means to deceive, delude, or mislead. Also to charm, amuse, or delight. Vindictive means wanting to win, wanting to get even, wanting revenge. Wanting to win doesn't fit. Vindictive means vengeful, seeking revenge, wanting to get even. Replete means well-stocked, well done, well supplied. Well done doesn't fit. Replete means fully or richly supplied, well stocked, chock full, filled to capacity. That concludes the review for this section. Remember that if you answered fewer than 8 of the questions correctly in this quiz, you should listen to the keyword discussions again before moving ahead in the program.